Hey guys, so today we're going to be working on the wheel and tire setup on the Mustang. We're going to still be using the Mach 1 wheels, but the fitment is kind of trash. I've ran spacers on them before to fix the fitment. Everybody who has one of these SM95s knows that with the rear end, the offset for the wheels is not perfect. It does never fit quite right, and I'll show you here what I'm talking about. I ran these spacers before, and on these quarter panels there's this lip on the inside, and those tires will grab and cut into your rubber just like that. And when you spend a lot of money on like Nittos or something, you don't really want them getting cut up by your car. So we're going to be rolling these and putting our spacers back on. And what we have for space is these Bora forged hub-centric spacers. These are the only spacers I will run, just because spacers are kind of notorious for being a little bit dangerous. But as long as you have hub-centric to your wheel and to your hub of your car and forged material, you're pretty safe. So I will be tracking on these and everything, so we'll see how it goes. Let's get started. So I want to show you guys something that's pretty cool with the Cox Sports rear bash bar on this car. Is that anybody who's got one of these new Edges knows how much of a pain in the ass it is to get to your rear diff, because when you have weight on your suspension or your car sitting on the ground, it's tucked up in there. But this Cox Sports rear bash bar also acts as a lift point for your jack, so it makes it way easier. So if you haven't looked into them already, go to driftamerican.com, check out the Cox Sports rear bash bar or front. I think they're the same thing, so they're both sweet. Okay, so we got two options when it comes to rolling fenders. First option is with a Fender roller. It's got the roller, adjustable head and everything. This is the professional way to do it. You run a little bit less risk of damaging the actual panel when you do it this way. But we build race cars here, so hammer and dolly. This is the unprofessional way to do it. I have a feeling this is the way we're going to be doing it. Most of the panel edge has already been pretty well tore up by my tires and or me hitting it with a hammer to fix it, because the tire had grabbed it and ripped it down. So they're not pretty in the first place. The only thing that we got to be careful of is chipping the outside of the paint. The inside, not a big deal on a track car, you know. You don't see it. We go to car shows, but it's not a show car. So if you're rolling the fenders on your show car build or your SEMA build or anything like that, you're going to want to use a heat gun. You're going to want to use rags. You're going to want to protect your paint. You're going to want to use the professional fender roller tool, or take it to a body shop. We like to fuck around and find out around here. So we're going to use a body hammer. We're also going to use a fender roller just to kind of show you guys how it works. There is one more thing you want to be aware of when you're rolling these fenders. I noticed this the first time I rolled fenders. When you've got some pressure on there and you're rolling it, it will push out the fender a little bit, if you can see that. So as we have pressure and we're going across, it is pushing the whole piece out a little bit. So like I said before, there was pretty high chance of using hammer and dolly instead on this car. We are going to be using hammer and dolly on the front, and I'll show you why. So the inside of this lip, you can see, is already kind of curled up. It's already got an edge to it, and then it comes down flat right here. And this is just one flat edge. So what we're going to do is we're going to hammer this in and try to pinch this a little bit more, get rid of this flat edge and push it up. And then on the same thing on this side. It's got that curved edge right there for fitment, and then it moves in. You can see I've been rubbing already in a couple different spots. So we're going to have to pinch this up more. And I don't know how far down we're gonna have to go, especially with a cambered setup. I think if we get down to this where it starts to get a little bit thicker, we can leave that alone down here. We're just worried about the top side fitment.
My pussy tastes like Mexico.
See, we've got this edge starting to go with the same direction as the outside edge, and that's when you want to start using a dolly on the outside with a rag on it so you don't chip your paint, because you're going to be hitting directly on the back of that metal into this panel. So you want to make sure that this stuff is protected on the outside and you're not pushing dents out on the outside of the panel, and that's what the dolly is for.
Well, we showed up, glowed up, hold up, with my aces, with my queens, bet I'm pulled up, hold up, hold up, empty bottles filled with dreams, coked up, showed up, glowed up, hold up, with my aces, with my queens, bet I'm pulled up, hold up, hold up, empty bottles filled with dreams, coked up models and some fiends, gelato, need my greens, what's my motto, with my dreams, hit the throttle, hear the screams, like aces with my queens, bet I'm pulled up, pulled up, pulled up, empty bottles filled with dreams, coked up, glowed up, glowed up, hold up, with my aces, with my queens, bet I'm pulled up, pulled up, pulled up, empty.
So now that the fronts are all rolled, the rears are rolled, I've got the inch spacers up front to match the body line, and then I've got 1.5 inches in the rear, and I think that should about line it up perfect. We're going to get the wheels thrown on here in just a second and find out exactly what it looks like.
Someone tell me how to let it go. I don't wanna feel this anymore. Someone tell me, someone tell me. Tell me how to let it
go. Final product after rolling the fenders on the Mustang actually turned out really nice. The fitments are great in the rear. Everything fits up in there just fine. We don't have any rubbing or damage to the tires anymore. Went and test drove it probably like 15 miles or so. I drove down some pretty bumpy roads here in Grand Ole, Wyoming. All of them are bumpy. So yeah, I went for a drive. The rears look fine. My only concern is the fronts, because of the way those fenders are built. There's still a flat spot on the inside there. I'm suspicious that we might be rubbing still up front when I'm full turned or something like that. I'm not 100% sure yet, so I'll have to look into that some more. But yeah, everything looks good and it feels fine when I'm driving. So